Hello everybody, and welcome back to Certified Collectibles. This is another episode of First Appearance of the Week. This is Wednesday, February 21st, 2024. We'll be giving you all the first appearance in your comic shops today. Now this week we have a really good video for you guys. I think we have 4 first appearances, 5 honorable mentions, so 9 titles on to go through. There's definitely some books in there worth picking up for your collection. So let's go ahead and get started for the first appearance of the week ending February 23rd, 2024. First up from DC Comics, Nightwing number 111. This features the first appearance of the Son of Grey, an ancestor of the Graysons during the 1300s. Now, like we always say with the DC Comics, it really depends on what DC does with these characters as to how important these characters are going to be and how important these particular issues are going to be in the future. DC does not have the cinematic power that Marvel Disney has, so they can't get a lot of these new characters in front of people, get a lot more eyes on them, give them a broader audience. So because of that, DC really has to do something spectacular with these characters they're introducing. That being said, though, this here does feature the first appearance of the Son of Grey, this ancestor of the Graysons. We don't know how important this particular character is going to be, but it is being introduced into the Nightwing standalone series. So this one here, in our opinion, this is a spec if you want to pick it up. The Batman universe, the Batman franchise, still one of the most heavily collected and the most popular franchises for DC Comics. And Nightwing, this is a popular character. This character does have a fan base. So this one here may be worth picking up for a spec, for $3 or $4. Might be worth the risk. So this one here is definitely a spec if you choose to pick it up. Grab it if you can. If you can't, though, put it in your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Marvel Comics, Spider-Boy number 4. This features the first appearance of Boy Spider. Now, if you missed the first appearance of Spider-Boy, here's your chance to get in with Boy Spider. Now, we typically recommend picking up the first appearance of new characters in any Marvel title, especially any Spider-Man title. The Spider-Man franchise, one of the most popular, most heavily collected franchises for Marvel Comics. And the Spider-Boy series, this is a popular series. Fans do love this series. And this here does feature the first appearance of this new Boy Spider. So this one here is one we do think you should pick up for your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. Next up from Marvel Comics, The Incredible Hulk number 9. This features the first appearance of Frozen Charlotte, a supernatural serial killer. Like we just mentioned a moment ago, it's typically worth picking up the first appearance of new characters in Marvel titles. And the Incredible Hulk franchise, hugely popular, huge fan base, huge collector base. So anytime they introduce a new character into the Incredible Hulk franchise, into this universe, these are typically books you want to own. So once again, this is one we do think you should pick up for your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. And finally for Marvel Comics, Edge of Spiderverse number 1. This features the first appearance of Weapon 8, an alternate reality version of Spider-Man. Now, like we mentioned a moment ago, it's typically always worth picking up the first appearance of new characters in Spider-Man titles. The Spider-Man universe, hugely popular, huge fan base, huge collector base, and anytime there's a first appearance of a new character in the Spider-Man universe, these are books, fans and collectors do want. They do race back and try to find these in a secondary market, so you do want to get in on the ground floor of these. So for the cover price, in our opinion, the risk is definitely worth the reward on this. So grab this one here for your collection. And now for the honorable mentions from Keen Spot, Crying Boy number 1. After the tragic death of her husband, a woman and her son restart their life in a new apartment where they discover a morose painting that her son bonds with, but later discovers it hides a demon that has survived for millennia by feeding on the souls of children. Now, we put this one here on the list because Keen Spot, they've had a ton of their titles picked up and optioned in the past. If you actually look at a list of a lot of the comic book titles that have been optioned in the past few years, Keen Spot is on there repeatedly. So that's why we put this one here on the list. This story does sound like it could translate easily to a small screen, big screen project. So this one here, in our opinion, is a great spec. Like I said, Keen Spot has had a lot of attention on their titles. They've had a lot of their titles picked up and optioned. They haven't really had anything hit the screen yet, but a lot of these titles have just been optioned over the past couple years. It does take a few years to get these things to the screen. So in our opinion, this is a great spec. Grab this one here for your collection if you can. If you can't, then put it in your B-list, but definitely keep an eye on this one. Next up from Oni, Cemetery Kids Don't Die number 1. In order to save their friend who is trapped in a state of unconsciousness, 3 friends must navigate the landscape of Dreamwave, a video game console played while sleeping. Now this one here sounds like it lends itself very well to a small screen, big screen project, and Oni, once again, just like Keen Spot, has had a lot of their titles picked up in option recently. So this one here is one we do think is a great spec. Like I said, the story sounds easily translatable to the screen, and the fact that it does deal with gaming, this here is topical as well. So in our opinion, a great spec. Grab this one here if you can. If you can't, then put it in your B-list, but definitely keep an eye on this one. Next up from Distillery, Blasphemous number 1. In a world where pop stars have ascended to divinity and the masses worship them, angels and demons thrive on this exaltation and compete with one another to gain unimaginable power. This story here is very topical, especially with everyone's fascination these days with pop stars. This one here we do think is a great spec, easily translatable to the screen, and like I said, given this topical nature of this particular story, this here has a great potential in our opinion to be option. Distillery hasn't really had a lot of their titles picked up in option in the past, but like I said, this story here does sound like it has some promise. So in our opinion, this here is another great spec. Grab it if you can. If you can't, put it in your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Image Comics, The Six Fingers #1. An archaeology student commits a brutal murder that resembles the killings of a historic serial killer, but he doesn't remember committing the crime. Once again, sounds like it can easily translate to a small screen, big screen project, and Image Comics has a lot of their titles picked up in option in the past. Once again, this here sounds like a great spec in our opinion. You know, these small press and indie publishers, when these stories get option or these titles get option for the screen, that's a huge price driver for these books. Even if they actually don't make it to the screen, that still sets these books in motion. So you definitely want to get these for the cover price when you can. In our opinion, like I said, great spec. Grab it for your collection if you can. Can't, put it on your B-list and take a look at it later on. And finally from Image Comics, Spawn #350. This features the debut of a new ruler of hell. Now, we don't know if this is the first appearance of a new character, or if this is an existing character that's being moved over to a new role. So you do want to get a little bit more clarification on this. We don't really know for sure right now. Like I said, this book just hits the shelf today. But if this is the first appearance of a new character, this is one you may want to pick up for your collection. You know, Image Comics on these landmark numbers, like issue number 100, 200, 300, 350. Anytime Image Comics hits a landmark number with a Spawn series, they typically do include some first appearances or some new powers and new costumes, something in there to make these particular issues collectible. So this one here, in our opinion, is probably worth picking up for the cover price. Now this here is going to be a little more speculative. And like I said, you probably want to do a little homework on this, make sure this is the first appearance of a new character, and not just an existing character being repurposed for a new role. If this is the first appearance of a new character, grab this one here for your collection. So there you have the 9 titles we have for you guys this week. There's definitely some books in there you guys should pick up for your collection. So please feel free to drop some comments in the comment section below. Thumbs up if you like this video. As always, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for joining us here at Certified Collectibles, and we'll see you again next time.